Hello friends, welcome to the video. We've got probability, and you probably didn't know about independent versus dependent probability. When you hear independent probability, this means the probability is unaffected by past events. So uninfluenced, let's say, by past events. Whereas dependent probability depends, good way to remember that, depends on past events. So what happens previous could affect dependent probability. Okay, so an example of each might be for dependent, maybe you're selecting marbles from a bag, selected marbles from a bag without replacement, without replacing the marbles. Where independent probability would be like the flipping of a coin. Let's do some examples with these. Here's a classic example. Is this independent or dependent probability? The probability of getting 3 heads in a row when flipping a coin. And I just gave the example, and it's of course independent. If you flip the coin now, the choices are heads or tails. If you flip a coin again, it's still heads or tails. So the probability of getting a head, and a head would be the probability of getting a head times the probability of getting a head times the probability of getting a head. And the reason we're multiplying in between is because it's known as AND probability. Anytime you want one thing and another, you use multiplication. The probability of flipping a coin and getting a head is 1/2. And you want another 1/2 because the probability of flipping a head, and another 1/2. When you multiply all those together, the probability is 1/8. Simple enough. Let's move on. Very straightforward example here, not even any words involved except for and you know what that means. Well, you have the probability of A is 1/3. You have the probability of B is 1/8. You want the probability of A and B occurring. Well, you heard it here first. And means multiply. You take the probability of A and you want the probability of B. So together, they have a probability of 1/24th because you just multiply. Simple. Let's move on. Okay, you got a bucket and you've got all of these balls in that bucket. So you've got 3 blue balls, 4 red balls, 6 yellow balls, and 1 green ball. We're looking for the probability of selecting a yellow and then a blue. But be careful, we're selecting these balls without replacement. So we should know that the probability of selecting a yellow and a blue is equal to the probability of selecting a yellow. And since we read this word and, it's multiplication. The probability of selecting a blue. Probability of selecting a yellow would be 6 out of the total number of balls, which is 14. And you want to be careful because when you select the next ball, there's 1 less ball in the bucket because we've selected the first. Selected the first, now we want the second, but now there's only 13 balls remaining. And how many of those balls are blue? 3. So when you multiply these together, you can have 18 over 182. And it looks like both of these have a 2 involved, so if we divide each of them by 2, we have 9/91 as our final answer. Yay! Here we go again with another straightforward probability problem. We've got the probability of A is 1/2. The probability of B given A is 4/9, and we're looking, of course, for the probability of A and B. Well, the probability of A multiplying the probability of B, but given that A first occurred, that's what this means. It's just like the problem we did last time. That's how we find this probability. Probability of A and means multiplication. B. The probability of B depends on what happened with A. So that's how we say it. We say the probability of B given that A occurred. The probability of A is the 1/2, and the probability of B given that A happened before B is 4/9. So they really already got this set up, and we're just having to multiply in this case. So it's 4 times 1 is 4 over 2 times 9 is 18. This can be simplified into 2 over 9, 2/9. Hooray! Friends, do 11.9 practice worksheet 1 through 9 odd. You're welcome. Goodbye. Toodles. Aloha.